So, um, picture a dog moving through just, an ordinary evening at home.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. So she is stationed right by the front door the exact second she hears keys in the lock.
Naturally. Always on duty.
Always. And then she proceeds to, trail her owner from the kitchen to the living room to the bathroom and back again. She's basically acting like she's supervising the entire operation of the house.
Making sure everything is up to code.
Exactly. And she's already claimed the warmest corner of the couch before anyone else even thinks about sitting down.
Oh, yeah. They always find the heat source.
They really do. But then suddenly a car door slams outside and she is up on all fours, barking with the absolute conviction of a dog 3 times her size.
They genuinely believe they weigh 80 pounds in those moments.
It's so true. But then, 10 minutes later, she's peacefully draped across her person's lap like absolutely nothing happened, completely unmistakably content. And, she weighs exactly 5 pounds.
Which is just, it's wild when you think about it. I mean, that is not a background pet. That is a massive, undeniable presence just wrapped up in a completely microscopic package.
It's funny, right? She weighs less than a bag of flour but acts like she literally owns the place. And that's what we're getting into today. We're taking a deep dive into the actual psychology behind that tiny, massive presence.
It's such an important topic.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the daily, lived reality of sharing your home with a Chihuahua. We pulled from a really comprehensive stack of expert guides on the breed's lifestyle requirements. And the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how to respect a tiny dog's physical body without accidentally shrinking its life in the process.
Yeah, it's a totally necessary reframe for a lot of people because a Chihuahua takes up very little physical space on your floor, but they take up a massive amount of space in the rhythm of a home.
The rhythm of the home. I like that.
Right. And the fundamental mistake people make with this breed usually falls into one of two extremes.
Okay, what are they?
Well, they either treat the dog as this low-maintenance, decorative accessory that doesn't really need anything, or they swing to the absolute opposite end and treat them like a permanent, fragile human baby.
Oh, wow. Yeah, neither of which actually serves the dog because, they are dogs.
Exactly. They are dogs.
But because they're small, we project all this human baggage onto them, which makes me wonder about how this massive presence fits into different types of homes.
Right, the environment matters a lot.
Because the immediate assumption people make is that apartments are absolutely perfect for Chihuahuas. Small dog, small home. Perfect match.
That is the assumption.
So wait, if I live on the 5th floor in a tiny studio apartment, I just don't see how a dog getting zoomies around my coffee table isn't getting enough exercise. Why do they actually need to go outside if they physically fit the space so well?
See, that is the exact trap apartment dwellers fall into. Physically speaking, yes, their bodies fit the room. They don't need a sprawling, fenced-in backyard to stretch their legs. But we are confusing physical space with mental and sensory needs.
Oh, okay. Like how they process the world.
Exactly. A dog's brain processes the world through smell. So if a Chihuahua never leaves a small apartment, the air is stagnant. The smells are exactly the same every single day.
Wow, so it's basically like living in a sensory deprivation tank for them.
It really is. Running in circles around your coffee table burns a few calories, sure, but it does absolutely nothing for their brain.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and when an owner ignores the dog's daily outdoor exercise, purely because, she's tiny, she's getting her steps in sight, the dog just goes stir crazy.
And I bet that leads to other problems.
Oh, completely. The behavioral issues that pop up, like frustration, noise complaints, destructiveness, they aren't happening because the square footage is too small. They're happening because the dog's mental needs are being entirely starved based on their size.
Okay, so a small space doesn't mean a small life. They still need to get out there.
Exactly.
So what about the other side of the spectrum? Like a big, chaotic family home? Because people usually assume a tiny dog is automatically the ultimate low risk, like a starter pet for a busy family with toddlers, almost like a living plush toy.
Oh, I hate that myth.
That has to be a disaster waiting to happen, right?
It really is, and I have to correct that assumption very firmly whenever I hear it. The idea that a small dog is automatically a safe, easy fit for young kids is entirely backward.
Really? Entirely backward?
Yes. Think about the physics of it. Their small size makes them significantly more physically vulnerable. A Chihuahua simply cannot absorb the physical impact of a clumsy toddler falling on them.
Oh, right. Because, A toddler tripping and falling on a golden retriever is usually just a funny moment where the dog licks the kid's face.
Right, the golden barely notices.
But a toddler falling on a Chihuahua is a catastrophic medical emergency.
It's a broken leg, or worse. And because they are so vulnerable, supervision and gentle handling are actually vastly more important than they would be with a larger breed.
So you really have to train the kids, not just the dog.
Absolutely. Children must be taught a very specific protocol. They need to sit on the floor and invite the dog over to them. You do not reach in, you don't force contact, you don't pick them up carelessly, and you never ever bother them while they're in their bed.
Which brings up, honestly, the elephant in the room, the reputation.
Ah, yes, the reputation.
Because people think of Chihuahuas as these snappy, aggressive little ankle biters, especially around kids. But looking at the sources we went through, we are completely misreading why they snap.
We really are. What's fascinating here is that if a Chihuahua snaps at a child, it is almost never random, unprovoked aggression.
Then what is it?
The root cause is almost always fear, physical pain, rough handling, or feeling physically trapped. I mean, imagine the scale for a second.
Okay.
If a 50-foot giant cornered you in a room, started waving its massive hands around, and tried to squeeze you, and you had absolutely no avenue to retreat, what would you do?
Honestly, I'd probably start screaming and throwing punches immediately.
Of course you would, because it's a survival mechanism. This breed gets an incredibly unfair reputation for having a nasty temperament, when in reality, they're just reacting to terrifying situations they are forced into.
We back them into a corner, ignore their warning signs, and then blame them for defending their own bodies.
Exactly. It's so unfair to them.
That makes total sense. So if toddlers are terrifying giants, what about actual giant dogs? Let's talk about multi-pet homes. Can they live safely with a larger dog, or is that just as much of a liability?
It can be done, but it requires genuine active management.
Like, you can't just leave them alone together.
No, absolutely not. Even a larger dog with completely good intentions can genuinely injure a Chihuahua purely by accident during playtime. One wrong pounce, one swipe of a heavy paw, and you have a tragedy on your hands.
Wow. So they can't even play normally.
Right, you can't just let them wrestle unattended. You have to provide dedicated escape spaces like narrow gates or elevated platforms where the Chihuahua can get away when they've had enough.
That's a good idea. What about cats? They're usually much closer in size, so the physics aren't as terrifying, right?
Yeah, cats and Chihuahuas can actually coexist beautifully. But the friction there usually isn't about getting crushed. It's about resources.
Resources.
Like food.
Yes, food. A key detail from the sources is that resource guarding, whether it's guarding a food bowl, a favorite toy, or even guarding the owner's lap from the cat, is very common. And I imagine a lot of people just laugh it off, like a tiny 5-pound dog growling at a cat over a food bowl probably looks funny to us.
It looks hilarious to people, so they record it for social media instead of actually managing it. But the dog is experiencing real stress and guarding behavior in that moment. It has to be managed with actual training and structure.
Given all these threats, toddlers falling, big dogs pouncing, cats competing for laps, the absolute natural instinct for most owners is to just reach down and scoop the dog up.
Oh, constantly.
Which brings us to a huge lifestyle lesson from the sources, the carrying conundrum, carrying versus walking.
Yes, and this is where we have to strike a very delicate balance. Because carrying absolutely has its place.
It does.
Oh, sure. It is a vital tool for safety. If you are in a dense, unpredictable crowd, if you're navigating a narrow sidewalk with strange, large dogs, or dealing with tricky, open-back stairs, picking the dog up is absolutely the right move to protect them.
Right, so using protection as a tool in a genuinely dangerous situation is great, but what if you just do it all the time? Like, if you carry them everywhere, aren't you essentially causing learned helplessness?
That is exactly the psychological mechanism at play here. Learned helplessness happens when an animal realizes their own choices and their own physical actions have no impact on their environment.
Oh, that's sad.
It is. If they are constantly hoisted into the air the second they show hesitation, they never learn how to map their environment. They never learn how to de-escalate a situation on their own.
So what does this all mean? It's basically helicopter parenting.
Yes. Using protection as a tool is great, but as a default setting, you're trapping the dog. Carrying as a default setting quietly erodes the dog's physical fitness, but more importantly, it destroys their confidence.
They just give up and accept that they are passengers in the world.
Which is incredibly stressful for an intelligent animal. A Chihuahua needs to learn to walk on a harness. They need to explore the environment at their own scale, sniff the ground, make choices, and respond to cues.
So they really do need to navigate the world on their own four paws.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so put them on the ground, let them walk. But wait, what if it's like 30 degrees outside? This is something that gets heavily stereotyped. The dog in the little sweater.
Oh, the sweater stereotype. I hear about this all the time.
Right. People roll their eyes and assume the owner's just playing dress up with their permanent baby.
I know people think that, but if you look at their biology, the sweater stereotype is grounded in absolute necessity. A Chihuahua doesn't just feel a little chilly.
They don't.
No, they have virtually zero body fat, very thin coats, and a massive surface area to volume ratio. Metabolically speaking, they lose core body heat exponentially faster than a golden retriever.
Oh, wow. So a sweater isn't a cosmetic fashion accessory. It's actual survival gear for them.
It is functional management gear. If we connect this to the bigger picture, if it's cold, they need a layer to retain body heat safely. And there is a huge psychological component to this as well.
What do you mean?
Well, a dog that is chronically shivering and freezing is a stress dog. When their body is in a state of physical stress, they become far more reactive to everything else around them.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, if I'm standing at a bus stop freezing without a jacket, I'm going to be way more irritable and jumpy if someone bumps into me.
Exactly. And on the flip side, heat requires just as much respect. Small dogs are closer to the hot pavement, which radiates heat directly into their chest and abdomen.
Oh, I never thought about that. They're so low to the ground.
Right. So they can and do suffer heat exhaustion very quickly. Their exercise always has to flex with the weather.
Okay, so we've established how to support their physical bodies, letting them walk, protecting them from the elements. But you mentioned that a freezing dog becomes a reactive dog. Let's talk about that reactivity.
Okay, let's do it.
Because if we're discussing living with a Chihuahua, we have to talk about the alarm system, the barking.
Oh, it is the #1 owner frustration, without a doubt.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. How do you actually manage it?
Yeah.
Because as the sources point out, this alert, watchful nature is baked into their history.
It's in their DNA.
Right. They notice sound and movement instantly. They bark out of alertness, fear, excitement, frustration. Basically, they bark at everything. And you can't just erase a dog's voice entirely.
No, you can't, and you shouldn't try. Think of a Chihuahua like a highly sensitive car alarm where the sensor is turned up just a little too high.
Okay, I like that analogy.
You don't want to disable the alarm entirely because it's doing its job by alerting you, but you desperately need to recalibrate the sensor so it stops going off for 20 minutes just because a leaf blew past the windshield.
All right, that would drive anyone crazy. So how do you recalibrate the sensor? What is the actual physical step-by-step for the owner?
In training terms, we call the goal recovery. The idea is teaching the dog to notice the trigger, respond to it, and then settle.
Notice, respond, settle.
Exactly. So when the dog barks at a delivery driver, you don't yell at them. You acknowledge it calmly, saying something like, "Thank you, I see it," and then you give them a specific alternate command, like, "Go to your bed," and you reward the silence.
Well, what do most people actually do?
The exact opposite. When the dog starts barking, the owner panics. They either shout at the dog, which to the dog just sounds like the owner is barking along with them as backup.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Right. Or, worst of all, they swoop down and scoop the dog up into their arms to try and quiet them down.
Oh, wow. Wait, so the dog sees the delivery driver, perceives a threat, barks, and immediately gets picked up, cuddled, and flooded with dopamine and safety.
Yes. A critical mistake. You just validated the perceived threat and actively rewarded the barking. You taught the dog that barking frantically is the exact password required to get picked up and cuddled.
That is wild. And this high anxiety loop at the front door makes me wonder if we're accidentally rewarding the panic when they see a delivery driver. Are we doing the exact same thing when we actually leave the house?
Oh, absolutely we are.
Because the sources highlight separation anxiety as a massive issue for this breed.
It is. Chihuahuas bond very deeply, often becoming a shadow to one specific person. Because of that intense attachment, suddenly being left alone for long stretches without any emotional preparation is genuinely distressing for them.
Right.
But the way owners handle their departures and returns usually pours gasoline on the fire.
Let's walk through that. What is the mechanism of making it worse?
It happens the second you walk back in the door. The dog is doing backflips because they're so happy to see you. Human instinct is to get down on the floor, match their energy, and do the high-pitched, "I missed you so much, were you so scared?" baby talk.
Which feels like you're comforting them.
It feels like comfort to us, but physiologically, you are spiking the dog's cortisol levels. You are validating their panic.
Oh, no.
Yeah. By making this massive dramatic scene upon your return, you are confirming to the dog that your absence was, in fact, a life-threatening, terrifying event, and it's a miracle you both survived.
Wow.
It guarantees they will be even more anxious the next time you put your shoes on.
Ouch. So we are literally causing the anxiety because it feels good to us to be missed. How do we fix it? How do we build that independence?
You build it gradually with structure. You provide safe, dedicated spaces in the home, like a comfortable crate or a gated area where they learn to self-soothe. You establish very boring, predictable departure routines.
Okay, boring is good.
Yes. And here's a crucial detail from the sources. Your returns must be calm and low-key. You walk in, you calmly put your keys away, you ignore the frantic jumping, and you only greet the dog gently once they have physically settled down and stopped demanding attention.
You're teaching them that coming and going is just a boring, normal part of the day.
Yes.
Nothing to panic over.
Exactly. Now, I should clarify. If the dog is experiencing genuine clinical panic-like continuous screaming, destroying the door frame, or house soiling that is completely out of character, that goes beyond basic routine changes.
That sounds severe.
It is. That requires intervention from a vet or a qualified behaviorist to manage the underlying panic disorder.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of establishing boundaries, there is a massive double standard that the sources highlight when it comes to basic obedience, and I think it's vital we unpack it.
Oh, the training double standard, yes.
Right. People seem to excuse rude or fearful behavior purely because the dog is small.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's not a big deal if she lunges on the leash, she only weighs 5 pounds.
It is incredibly unfair to the dog. Imagine walking through life in a constant state of high alert, feeling like you have to lunge and defend yourself from everything, and your guide just lets you do it because you're small.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Owners shouldn't excuse rude or fearful behavior just because the dog is small. A Chihuahua should absolutely be taught basic cues. They need to be comfortable with handling, have decent leash manners, and know a polite routine for greeting visitors.
So you don't let them get away with murder just because they can't physically drag you down the street.
No, absolutely not. Giving them boundaries gives them relief. Now, the training needs to be gentle, consistent, and strictly reward-based. Harsh physical methods are completely out for a dog this fragile. But the training itself is a must. Excusing bad behavior just abandons the dog in a constant state of stress.
Okay, so we've established they need real training, real boundaries,
Yeah.
and they're fully capable of learning them. Let's shift gears and look at the physical environment of the house. The hidden logistics of living with a creature this small.
The logistics are fascinating.
They really are, because the micro-hazards listed in the sources fascinated me. A normal house is basically an obstacle course.
It really is. Owners have to actively scan their environment differently. You have to prevent falls from furniture, for one.
Just jumping off the couch.
Yes. A leap from a high mattress might be nothing for a spaniel, but the structural impact on a Chihuahua's tiny front legs can easily cause fractures. You also have to be deeply mindful of heavy doors swinging shut in a draft.
And just walking around. The very real danger of accidentally stepping on them in the kitchen.
Yes. In a busy household, they can easily get lost underfoot. They also need a quiet retreat space to escape household chaos. But here's a hazard people rarely think about until it's too late. Blankets.
Wait, blankets?
A Chihuahua's natural instinct is to burrow under blankets to conserve heat. It's adorable until someone walks into the living room and drops their full body weight onto the couch without checking under the throw pillow first.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
It is genuinely easy for them to become invisible.
Wow, so you just constantly know where they are. Okay, so my house is an obstacle course of micro-hazards, but at least they're cheap.
Yeah,
right?
well, here we go.
That's the prevailing myth. Small dog equals a cheap dog. I mean, they eat what, a tablespoon of kibble a day?
I hear that argument all the time, but if you look at their lifelong vet bills, it's the exact opposite. I have to push back on that.
Really? Why?
Yes, the food budget is tiny, but that is where the savings end. The biggest hidden cost with Chihuahuas is meticulous, ongoing dental care.
Wait, why are their teeth worse than a big dog's? Don't they all have the same teeth?
They do, and that's actually the exact problem. It's a structural issue. A Chihuahua has the standard 42 adult canine teeth, right? But they are crammed into a jaw the size of a walnut.
Oh my gosh, a walnut.
Yeah, it's tiny. And because the jaw is so small, the teeth end up severely crowded. They overlap and they sit at really odd angles.
Which I'm guessing creates countless little crevices where food and plaque just get, like, permanently trapped.
Exactly. Normal chewing doesn't clean their teeth the way it would for a Mastiff. That crowding leads to rapid, severe periodontal disease. which means expensive professional cleanings under anesthesia and often multiple tooth extractions are just a regular part of their life.
Which is definitely not cheap.
Not at all. Then you add in the functional worm gear we discussed, high-quality harnesses that don't crush their tracheas, regular parasite prevention, and eventually senior care.
Right.
And here is the kicker. They have a very long lifespan, often 15 years or more. When you combine all those recurring medical and lifestyle costs and multiply them over 15 years, it is a major financial commitment.
Okay, so when we look at this entire picture, the need for careful handling, the complex barking management, the obstacle course of a house, the structural dental issues, the lifespan, who is the ideal match for this dog?
Yeah.
Who actually thrives with a Chihuahua?
The people who thrive are patient, observant, and gentle. They are people who are genuinely willing to train a small dog seriously rather than treating them like a toy.
Okay.
They respect the dog's physical size without becoming overprotective helicopter parents who carry them everywhere. They are comfortable with a highly attached, shadow-like companion, and they are fully prepared for the ongoing veterinary care.
And who should walk away? Like, who struggles with this breed?
Anyone looking for a low-effort accessory. Anyone who absolutely hates barking and doesn't want to do the work to train recovery.
That makes sense.
Also, people who feel smothered by a dog that wants to be attached to them all day. Or anyone wanting a rough-and-tumble pet for a chaotic house with unsupervised toddlers or large, rowdy dogs. Those situations almost always end poorly for both the human and the dog.
It's really all about matching expectations to the biological reality. When you synthesize all of this, the sources, the behavioral mechanics, the daily logistics, it all points to one inescapable takeaway. A Chihuahua is not less dog.
No, not at all.
It is a complete, fully featured dog whose absolute needs for boundaries, for safety, for mental stimulation, for emotional security are simply compressed into a very small physical frame.
That's it exactly. The mistake owners make isn't loving them intensely, like loving them like family is great. The mistake is forgetting that underneath the functional winter sweaters and the adorable blanket burrowing, they are dogs. Their small size changes the physical risks of caring for them, but it doesn't erase a single one of their canine needs.
So if you have one of these tiny shadows following you around your house right now, or you're considering bringing one into your life, or even just passing one on the street, understanding this concept of scale changes everything.
It really does.
It's about physical scale,
Yeah.
yes, protecting them from drops and big dogs, but it's also about emotional scale and the scale of attention and respect they genuinely deserve as living, breathing animals. They aren't accessories. They are complex creatures supervising the household, claiming the couch, and navigating a giant world.
You know, this raises an important question for you to think about as we wrap up today's deep dive.
Let's hear it.
If we so easily project these human narratives, like dismissing a dog as a permanent baby or treating it like a fashion accessory, based purely on their physical size, what other fundamental needs of the living creatures around us are we completely blind to simply because they don't fit our visual expectations?
Wow. That is a brilliant thought to leave on. Keep looking past the surface, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.